Good evening, ghouls and gals, freaks and creeps, and welcome to the Terrorized podcast, where we'll be talking about everything from the paranormal, the strange, the haunted, the occult, murder mysteries, true crimes, and everything in between. Everything you need to satisfy your gut wrenching and spine tingling needs. Today, folks, we're going to be talking about a movie that I feel deserves more time in the spotlight. It's not very talked about, which is a shame because it's a cult classic, but it deserves to be in almost everybody's top five. We're going to be talking about Dog Soldiers. It was released in May 10th, 2002. And like I said, great movie, not very talked about. So
If you're a werewolf fan and that's a genre you like to watch, this definitely is one worth watching.
yep, couldn't agree with you more. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and break down the synopsis for us?
Okay, during a routine night-time training mission in the Scottish Highlands, a small squad of British soldiers expected to rendezvous with the Special Ops unit instead find a bloody massacre with the sole survivor. The savage attackers of the Special Ops team return, and the men are rescued by Megan, a zoologist who identifies what hunts them as werewolves. Without transport or communications, the group is forced to retreat to a farmhouse to wait for the full moon to disappear at dawn.
All right. So, like I said, great movie. I don't feel like it's talked about enough. For that to come out in 2002 with the budget it had, I think it punches so far above its own weight class that it's not talked about enough, in my honest opinion.
So, the cast of the movie is Sean Pertwee, Kevin McKidd, Emma Cleesby, Liam Cunningham, Thomas Locker, Darren Morfitt, Chris Robinson, Leslie Simpson.
So, Eric, what are your vibes on the movie personally?
Um, I like that it mixes the military genre with the werewolf genre. Um, the cast is every guy they get is perfect for the role that they're playing. Um, the special effects are really good. Um, the setting, the farmhouse at night, the fog.
One of my favorite things too, it's I love the way the werewolves looked because they're kind of I don't want to say lanky, but kind of how they looked in Underworld. Like they're real tall. They got like long legs and long arms to clearly look, wolf like. But these werewolves look kind of like a mix between The Howling and Underworld, where they actually look more like wolves with the elongated snout. They have more fur and mane, look more wolfy, is in lack of a better word to put it.
Definitely have more of a human body.
Yep.
Like you said, just very long, lanky. Um, the heads look like wolves, not like a human wolf hybrid or something between the two. They look like wolves. The long snout, the big ears, the fur. Um, just one of the and has one of the better transformations I've seen in werewolf movies.
Yeah. Even for the budget constraints to show like the teeth kind of like slowly growing and like the eye color changing to the what is it like perched yellow and ember. It was great.
Um, the fight scenes are really good.
Yep.
If you like explosions and gunfire and all the stuff that military movies give you, it's definitely you're gonna get what you want.
A good thing too, like the cast is so diverse in personalities. Like The Sarge, who is played by Sean Pertwee. That guy is such a phenomenal actor. Like, I believe he played Alfred, right?
In Gotham.
Gotham. I've also seen him in another horror movie. Sadly, he's like another Sean Bean. Like, he's basically there to die, which is sad. Because this guy, from beginning to end, kicks ass through the whole movie. He legit earned his stripes to become the Sarge. He's tough as nails. One of the best scenes is after he's encounters like the werewolf for his first time. He's trying to fight it off, and it hits him in the stomach, and it almost disembowels him. Like, his whole good 2 feet of his intestines is hanging out, and he's still crawling on the ground, shooting back, trying to throw dirt and knife fight with half of his guts out. I don't even know most werewolf movies where people lose a limb and they're like, they're ready to become cannon fodder. This dude fought tooth and nail to keep it going.
And later in the movie, due to the fact that he did have his stomach torn open and that his guts were hanging out, you learn that super glue was invented during
World War II
to help close up badly wounded soldiers. So they use it by pushing his intestines back inside his stomach and folding the flap back and using the glue to glue it down.
And what's even better is the Sarge, even though he's in pain and screaming, Cooper, who is played by Kevin McKidd, this guy, man, he's something else. The Sarge is screaming in pain, and he's like, just knock me out, Coop. This is the best way to do it. I mean, Cooper drops a big dog on him. I mean, a hell of a left hand. And, of course, the Sarge being the Sarge, he's like, oh, come on, you hit like a bitch. Come on, hit harder. And, I mean, he took 2 hella good right punches. And just, that's the only way he can finish it.
Like I said, the whole cast is good. Everybody has a moment where they encounter the werewolves and they get to do their thing.
Like, hands down, one of my favorite characters is Spoon, who is played by Darren Morfitt. This guy, he's not exactly the biggest dude in the bunch, but he's definitely the scrappy, wiry one. There's a scene where he's running out of bullets, and the werewolf basically kind of crashes through the door, and he just throws up his dukes, and he's boxing with this werewolf, getting thrown all over the place. And I mean, he's weaving, ducking, hitting it, smashing it in the head with pots and pans, throwing dishes. Best resort, he takes out his knife and he hit it with the prison shiv, 2 to the side, jumps up behind it, screaming like a madman. And he actually kills one with literally just a knife. It's sad it took 2 other werewolves to bring him down, plus one holding him down, so they could all eat him. So I'm like, that is badassery to its finest.
One of my favorite things about the movie is the plot twist. The cabin that they go to is actually the home of the family that is all the werewolves. And they, Megan, the zoologist that they run into during all of this, she's played by Emma Cleesby. She turns out to actually be a werewolf herself.
Yep.
So she actually lured them to the house.
Yep. Every full moon cycle, she just lets them loose like, cattle. It's just time to feed.
So there, there's the plot twist because all these movies always have a little plot twist to them.
Bum, bum.
So, like I said, it's a very good plot twist, good casting. Not a whole lot of mood music.
It's more just the battle music that's
yeah, and
constantly
it's
going.
like I said, the setting is really good because it's late at night. It's in the highlands, so there's lots of fog. It's really cold, so when they're breathing, you see their breath. When the werewolves are at the window, you can see the steam coming off them. It's a little different because these werewolves are actually not just savages. They are thinking, and they're actually hunting like they say, in a pack. But they're thinking. They're not just rushing in there, tearing things apart. They're calculating. They're figuring out where the weaknesses are in the defenses to get inside this house. So it's definitely a different take on an old franchise.
Yeah, I believe it's Joe is one of the soldiers who is played by Chris Robinson. I think he has a shotgun, if I'm not mistaken. It's either him or Spoon who have the shotgun. They break out a window and stick just the barrel out far enough so they could, it's a pump action, so they could keep the shots rapid but enough to keep going. Well, I think the werewolf is he hanging from the ceiling, or he like is squatting under the window and then just ripped the shotgun out from
I
his
believe
hands.
he's squatting under the window.
So when he grabs it, he was counting the number of shots, rips it out of his hands at the last shot, shoots into the window, and just completely blows it out. So if somebody would have been standing there, they'd have got hit. That's another thing that's pretty interesting, that these werewolves are smart enough to actually like try to open doors. They're calculative. Like I said, this is definitely one of those werewolf movies that's so underappreciated and not talked about enough.
Yeah, it definitely should be in, if not your top five, definitely in your top
At least
10.
top 10.
Not many people know about it. If you happen to have already seen it, or after you got hearing us talk about it, want to go see it, it's definitely worth the watch. You'll most likely, if you talk about it, most people won't know what it is, because it's, like we said, it's kind of like a hidden gem.
I guess like if I had any kind of a knock on it, because you could tell they were working within a budget constraint, that the filmography could definitely use a touch up. They restored it on a 4K, so it definitely kind of smoothed out the picture. Definitely restored it, kind of gave it a new lease on life. So if you can watch it where it's remastered, it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
The original is a little grainy.
Yeah, it's a little rough on the eyes.
For the budget, it is definitely a great movie.
Oh yeah.
So don't think because it wasn't a huge budget movie that you're not going to enjoy it, that it wasn't, well put together or anything like that, because it definitely is.
Yeah, and what's even sadder is this movie actually had a sequel in the making, but I guess nobody really wanted to greenlight the second project because the first one wasn't like a financial success enough to really want to bring notice. I think what kind of hurt the movie, nothing to the Sci-Fi Channel, but that's where it debuted here in the States. So of course you had to cut out a lot of the gore and the violence and some of the swearing, because it's sci-fi. It's funny because the first time I watched this movie, I didn't really like it because I saw it on Sci-Fi. But a friend of mine, when I was really little, he rented it, and he's like, "Dude, have you seen Dog Soldiers?" I'm like, "That crappy movie on Sci-Fi." He's like, "Dude, don't watch it on Sci-Fi. Come over to the house and watch it." I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And I believe I told you about it, and then we rented it. And then I'm like, "Yeah, this was definitely the way to watch it."
There's a few other werewolf movies that we'll be talking about soon that aren't well known, but great werewolf movies.
Yeah, like, yeah, I think Hal is definitely going to be one of those. If I'm not mistaken, that's one where they're stuck on the train.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure I got the
Full
right movie.
Eclipse with
Great movie.
Mario Van Peebles.
That's another Dog Soldiers. It's not talked about enough, and I think for movies like these, I think were best in the '90s and the '80s because they were so willing to experiment with stuff, and even a low budget Cinemax movie could be really good. Take Mind Ripper, prime example.
Well, sometimes, people see low budget or straight to DVD or straight to a streamer or something like that. They automatically assume that the movie's no good because it wasn't in the theaters. Like we said, sometimes you're going to find that hidden gem in there. You just got to be open-minded and willing to take a chance on something that not many people know about.
Like prime example, one of those like straight to movies or VHS because that's when these came out. Puppet Masters, those weren't in theaters.
No.
And look at how great those. Well,
Great
the first
franchise.
four.
Great
the first four.
They're all pretty good. Well, in my opinion, I think they're all pretty good. I think it's one of the better franchises that's out there.
Yeah, because they've taken so many different aspects of things and then were able to make it work. So, yeah, it's a shame that such a good movie got dogged out, no pun intended, by putting it on a network that had so many constraints and on a network that was already kind of dying in a sense.
Yeah, a movie like that, you definitely want to see where it's in its full entirety. You want the way it was filmed, the way they wanted it to be put out. That's the way you want to watch this one. So if you can find, if you got a streamer that you can find it on, if you can, maybe go somewhere where you can find it and rent it, buy it, whatever, definitely do. It's like I said, it's definitely worth a watch.
For those interested in streaming it, I know for sure Prime. Prime definitely has it because I rewatched it actually for the review, and chef's kiss. It holds up even now. Like we said, if there was any kind of a knock, it's just the budget constraints because you had such a good movie, and if you had a budget to just maybe some better cameras, extended time for shooting, you could have done something incredible with this.
If this movie had a bigger budget, it wouldn't be a hidden gem. It would just be a gem because I think most people who would see it would enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because, like I said, if you have to call it a knock, it's just because there just was not a whole lot of money, and if there was, it would have had at least 2-3 sequels easy. And I think they would only get better because now you have way more money to invest with more werewolves, more special effects, a longer runtime. That's another, I guess, if you can call it a knock.
Yeah,
it's the runtime. It's a little short, probably like what, an hour and 45, hour 30,
something like that. It's not super long, but once the action gets going, it's going.
Yeah, there's never really a poor pacing moment.
It's not a slow burn in the beginning or, at the end you're an anticlimactic ending. It's good from the jump to the end. It's a great movie.
Yep. So that's pretty much our review on Dog Soldiers, folks. Like we said, we think it's a great movie. It's definitely worth a watch. It's a shame that this movie isn't talked about more. True horror fans and werewolf movie enthusiasts, this is definitely one of the ones for you.
And if anybody has a movie that that you think is a great movie, doesn't get enough recognition, and you'd like for us to take a look at it and give a review, just drop it down in the comments. We'll take a look, and we'll, make sure you get the credit for the movie, and we will
definitely send you a shout on the episode.
And then we will look it over and give our review.
Yeah, we're always on the hunt for new horror movies. Like, we're big horror movie junkies, as it always has been.
The slasher flick, the sci-fi, the paranormal, lost footage, whatever kind of movie it is.
All right, well, with that, folks, we conclude the review of Dog Soldiers. Eric, if you had to give it a rating on the gut buckets, what would you give it?
I'd definitely give it 7.5 gut buckets.
Yeah, for me, I could say it's a solid 6.5, 7 gut buckets. Like, it just hits all the boxes. In my opinion, it's great, and people need to keep an open mind too. That's definitely a thing. Stay open-minded, because some people are like, if it doesn't have the huge budget, it's crap, which it's not. If you can look at the story, the acting, that the cast that was given, it's, like I said, it's a cut above the rest. So with that, folks, we conclude the review of Dog Soldiers. Good fright and good night.